I've been muted the whole time. I've been muted for the first however long, for the first 3 minutes of this video. What is wrong with me? I even knew it was muted. I knew, I could see. I put my headphones away. I was like, I'm muted, better unmute my mic. Ridiculous. So Ethan, what quiz topic do you want to do today? I feel like that's Veronica trying to log in right now. Hello, Pookum. So what was I saying? Yes. Oh, it's Twigsy. What up, Twigsy? How's it going? How's it going? Yes. The cat now, Dexter. Say hello. Say hello to Dexter. Hi, everyone. Hello. Thank you. The Dexter now. Yeah, new baby. Who's a baby? Who's a baby? Dexter now has established that when I sit down and start going live, this is it now. Every time I say welcome to DansDen Live, when the video goes up, he literally is on my lap. This is now the pattern. This is it. 12 o'clock, it's cuddle time. To him, it's not time to go live. It's cuddle time. That's what happens now. And what you might have seen, Ethan, was me leaving a video for my partner, telling her that this is what he does and filming it, but also the fact that he acts like he can't open doors. He acts like, I can't get in here. The door is not openable. I'm stuck. And he'll meow and, meow, meow, meow. And he'll get all funny with me. But I'm not joking. I went, welcome to DansDen Live, number 32, everyone. How are we doing? And not 5 seconds later, a door that has coats hung on it, right? He just pushed it out of the way like it was just like, no, get out of my way. It's cuddle time. And he walked in here and just walked in and straight up. Also, I noticed he's got something on his forehead. You got something on your forehead. He's got something on his forehead. Something's got him. And also you'll notice his cupboard's open. And that's because in this little bit right here, sometimes he likes going in there. He likes jumping in there and having a little sneak behind the boxes. So I've left it open so that he can indeed go in there and, mess around. Now, first things first, the book that I did on Monday, I've gone through it. And the next couple of exercises are far easier. They are far easier and they're based on logic. Okay. So that's something that we can all do together. That's fine. The whole book is not as convoluted as step one. All right. So don't worry about that. Number two, much easier, way, way easier. And we can all do it. Then I actually thought Monday was even though I know that it was kind of tough to play along with, so we didn't want to, that's fine. I get it. I actually quite enjoyed reading to you guys. I did enjoy that. So I found two books that actually I could read to you. And if you're cool with it. One is called The Art of Being Brilliant. I haven't read this, but I'll read the back. 6 common sense principles to transform your life. Right? The Art of Being Brilliant is crammed full of advice, case studies, quotes, funny stuff, and important questions to get you thinking about your work, relationships, and life. You'll discover, here we go, you'll discover your strengths, learn to make the most of what you've got, identify where you want to be, and take some concrete steps towards your brilliant future. Read it, do what it says, you'll feel the results reverberate positively in everything you do. Just be yourself brilliantly. That's one here. Hey, Veronica! Hello. Grace texted me and said she'll let you know she hasn't died. She's just helping her down in the garden. But it's good to know that she's alive. That's really good to know. Wonderful. Yes, and Ethan has asked, how is everyone? And indeed, how is everyone? How are we doing? I'm actually really well today. Thank you. I had a chat with my boss this morning. Quick catch up. All is well. This one here, of course, is you're being very well behaved. You're being very well behaved. Good boy. He's a good boy. Huh? Who's a good boy? He's a good boy. He's a good boy. And Veronica's good. Excellent. Yes. How is everyone else? Ethan, sorry, what I didn't say, I was muted. I didn't say, are you okay for a chat today? Because yes or no is fine, because I know that you're still getting better. And if you're still wanting to mend and just hold off and, chill, fine, totally fine. But if you want to chat, of course, we can do that at 2 o'clock. The other book that I could read out, which it's not got any exercises, it's pure text. I'm just reading. It's called From Good to Amazing by Michael Sower, who is, this guy is the most, I don't know if he is now, but he's the highest paid life coach in the UK. And I thought, okay, we could go through this, but it's very simple, this book. So either, we can chat. Cool. Okay, excellent. So I'll give you a call at 2. So it's either The Art of Being Brilliant or From Good to Amazing. Which one of these two would you like me to read? Because then Monday can be the other book, right? And again, the next exercise, much simpler, much more straightforward. This can just be a little read, like middle of the week, kind of Wednesday, hump day. Just quickly do a little top up of this, and then we can go from there. How does that sound? How does that sound to you? I've realized I'm looking. I always hate it when streamers do this. They talk to the screen, but I know to talk to the camera because then I'm looking at you. But I end up looking at the comments, but I'm looking at the comments while I'm talking. I'm looking at you. I don't want to look at the camera. Like there, you. That's who you. I'm talking to you. All right. So I'm going to actually do that. And every now and then I might read the comments. But yes, how am I? I'm fine. Thank you very much. I'm good. I did my 2 days of running in a row, which is exactly what I set out to do. I'm really happy about it, and I want to keep doing it. So tomorrow I go for a run, Friday I go for a run, and then 2 days off. I'd need to Google restless legs, though, because it's a problem that I've suffered. I believe it's a problem I had when I started running. I think that was the challenge. When I started running, I had restless leg syndrome. So it's when you go to bed and your legs are like humming with energy. And so you're really struggling to just, let them rest. And they want to keep moving around, and you want to stretch the muscles, and you want to move them and bend them and excuse me. So that's that. But otherwise, no, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Really good. I got a message from my partner. Messaged me back. You're going to get some food. Twigsy likes from good to amazing. Okay, cool. This one is, the art of being brilliant. 6 common sense principles to transform your life. And this one is from good to amazing. No bullshit tips for the life you always wanted. So there we go. You're going to get some food. Veronica, do you have a preference on which book you would like to read? I mean, I want to make it a vote because otherwise, Twigsy turns into the decider of all the things we do. But it's still a valid vote, Twigsy. Just, from good to amazing or the art of being brilliant. Which one looks good to you, Veronica? And then if you pick the same as Twigsy, we'll go with that. But if you pick something different, then it'll come down to Ethan and he'll have to be the tiebreaker. Oh, it'll be very exciting for him. Now get on with your work. Oh, okay. All right. Chill it. That's my partner there telling me to get on with my work. Oh, you done? He's done. He's found a little spot of sun. That's what he's doing. Oh. No, not my scarf. Wait a minute. Hang on 1 second. It's okay. Don't worry. I'm just going to grab that. So this actually is really neat. So you guys all know Lucy, right? You all know Lucy, the lady with the pink hair, who's my boss. And she made this for me. And I adore this primarily because there's a little thing on it. And I don't know if I could actually show you or get you to see it. This little thing, and it says, stop looking at me. Don't look at me. Come on, focus on the thing. It says karma. And I love it. I love this. I think it's magnificent. It's amazing. Accidentally turns into God. I love it. Whoopsie daisy. Looks like I'm God now. Okay, then. So we'll read this. And then we'll go through that. And then actually what it will mean is because these are actually these are still good. So what I'll do is I will read this first, then do this. I'm just thinking about when I log in, when I sign in, what's the best thing for me to do? Actually, it's for me to read this and then read that. Let's do a quote first, and then we'll go on to the first chapter of From Good to Amazing. I'm looking forward to reading that, by the way. I've read it before. It's a very quick read. It's very easy, but I'm not reading the whole book. All right. But each chapter is very short. So we'll see. Right. Here we go. Oh, this one's good. No, this one. Anne Frank. Here we go. Whoever is happy makes others happy too. Wait, what? Hang on. Whoever is happy will make others happy too. Yes, that's it. Whoever is happy will make others happy too. I don't think we need to say much more about that, to be honest. I think that's it. Whoever is happiness is infectious. Much like, in fact, many moods are infectious. And actually that can be either a reflection of codependency, right? Our mood is impacted by the people around us, which is not necessarily always great. In fact, it's not really great very often at all. We don't want our mood to be infected by people around us. But yes, it's a nice quote because, yeah, basically, if you want people around you to be happy, you yourself need to be happy. And also in regards to that, you then need to look at what makes you happy. And then that real happiness will shine. And you don't necessarily need to be like, oh, I'm happy. Look at how happy I am. I'm so happy. You just need to be, right? And that's it. You just need to be in a state and you can just enjoy yourself and other people will be happy from that. That's it. So I think also that's why people are very, you know, we're smart, we're perceptive. And so we do pick up when someone is trying to sell the happy to us, as opposed to when someone is just happy. Laughter is contagious. Exactly, Veronica, precisely. Laughter is contagious, much like a sense of happiness, contentedness, right? And honesty and vulnerability and realness and all those good things. It's very magnetic. So we do like happy. We also like honesty. We like it when people are not trying to hide. And again, we're perceptive. We usually pick up on when someone's trying to kind of fake it a little bit and act like everything's wonderful and perfect. I remember a guy said this to me years ago. And ironically, he was this guy. So it's very ironic. But he did say to me, if anyone looks like they have their whole life sorted out, like they've got life figured out, run as far away as you can from them. And I, you know, I really listened to that. But then actually, I also learned that he was, funnily enough, one of those people. So yeah. And also, I'd like people to tell me if I ever turned out like that, if I really made out like I've got it all sorted out and life is great for me, because not life is great for me that I understand life and everything's sorted out. Everything's tidily tucked away. Because for one, you can't see this. That's not tidily tucked away. And you can't see what's taking place in my desk right now. There's a lot of stuff here. And it is a reflection of me. I have my faults too. So that's, I guess, but yeah, I think you do know that, because that's, wait, hang on. Did you know? I want to look at this now, Ethan. Wait, that's amazing. 1 second. Let me actually see if I look at that. I'm going to Google it. That's why I do speak to this element of knowing that, you know, stuff can go wrong sometimes, but it's not about the fact that stuff goes wrong. It's what we do when stuff goes wrong that makes the difference. So hang on. Let's have a look. Chicken tenders. I really want to Google this now. You've got me on it. Chicken tenders food. No, no, chicken tenders. I'm not looking at food. Come on. I really want this to be true. I want this to be true, but Google is giving me a whole, and not surprisingly, Google is giving me a whole collection of chicken tenders recipes, and I don't want recipes. I want this job role, because that's great. So wait, hang on. People who take care of chickens. What do you call someone who takes care of chickens? Non-plural, triman. Oh no, a poultryman. Oh wait, is this a dad joke? It's a dad joke. I just found Reddit came up. It showed me there. That would be great though, Ethan, you know? That would be great. Maybe we should just start calling them that, chicken tenders. I think that's a nice thing to do. I think it's the reasonable thing to do, right? Because everyone loves chicken tenders. Even vegans, where they can have non-chicken chicken tenders, still pretty banging, right? It's all about the breaded coating. That's really what it's about. So everyone loves chicken tenders. So why not just call them chicken tenders? I think it's a great idea. I think let's make it a thing. 2020 chicken tenders, year of the tender, year of the chicken tender. Sometimes when my mum is mad, she kind of picks everyone out, picks everyone. She gets the chance to upset. I don't think she set out with the intention to upset everyone, but she certainly has a habit of it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's oh, that's what we were going to talk about. Twigsy. We were going to talk about good parenting, weren't we? That's it. Oh, here we go. Looks like you've gone and done it. So I tell you what, here's what we'll do then. Because on Monday I didn't do the quiz, I did the book. We'll do this. This is our quiz today. Because also, Ethan, you didn't pick a topic, which is fine. I'm not, that's fine. So actually that works, because then this can be the thing we read. Because we didn't talk about good parenting. And you brought it up yesterday. And then tomorrow, social experiments. We are absolutely going to talk about that. That's tomorrow's topic. No, you didn't decide to do this, Twigsy. I decided to do it. You just brought it up. So yes, first of all, 2020, year of the chicken tender. We're doing it. We're absolutely doing it. Then, good parenting. Now, the reason I wanted to actually look at this is because, let me just quickly Google. It's because, as you know, some of you know this already, I am so excited to be a parent. I've felt this for so long that I can't wait to be a parent. Right? I really can't. I'm just so excited about it. And it's been for a very long time. So obviously in that regard, I've always wondered what a good parent looks like. Right? And I've always wanted to try and be a good parent. Not saying that no one does try to be a bad parents. And I will get into this. right? I will get into this. But hang on. I'm going to say what makes a good parent. Let's see if Google can answer, because here we go. 10 good parenting tips. And I'm not even sure about reading that out just yet, but I'll get back to that. Here we go. What are traits of good parents? I mean, there's parents, like so many people here. I might even go through a couple and see if they meet up, because this to me is probably the first reflection on why the element of parenting is such a contentious point, and why I'm not really going to sit here as someone who hasn't got kids and, you know, dictate or try to lecture anyone, even you guys, because I don't think, but first of all, what's the measurement? What is the measurement of a good parent? How do you measure it? Because is it the way the child was raised? But then how does the child need to be raised in order to suggest that parenting was good, right? And what's to say that it wasn't the school they went to, or the mentor they had at school, or the friends they had that happened to be there, or, you know, that kind of thing. Is that the parent? Who knows? Is it? And this is where I go into a kind of a more controversial area, where you can have a child that was raised who's emotionally maladjusted or neglected in some way. And it's easy, of course, to blame the parent. But then actually, as we've talked about before, that parent might be working and operating from the tools only the tools they have, which may have been the tools they've been handed from their parents. And so they're desperately trying to do what's best. And in that trying to do what's best, they actually end up falling short of some of the things that child might actually need growing up, right? But their intentions are not to do that. Their intentions are to go, I'm trying to protect you from ABC, or I'm trying to make you strong enough to not experience ABC. But inadvertently, they end up, you know, doing more harm than good. Now, again, is that bad parenting? Well, you could say yes, but at the same time, that's not what they're trying to do. Does that make sense? I feel like it's a really weird place. I mean, I've also heard things growing up, and it's really ridiculous things like, you know, people have children to improve their relationship with their partner, and people have children because, you know, they should. People have children from peer pressure, and so on. And I continually ask myself, like, I'm trying to think what I ask myself, actually. I guess I continually ask myself, how do I want to be a parent? And that's the question I want to ask. How do I want to be a parent? I've looked at, and I'm going to get to these lists after I say this. And you guys, obviously, you're probably just listening to me right now, which is fine. But obviously, have your comments as you do, always. I always felt, even though I wasn't conscious of this, I always felt that if I was going to be a parent, and this is how I knew I always really wanted to be a parent. And I know I'll be in one of those videos when my partner tells me she's pregnant, she shows me the stick. I'll be one of those people who break down crying. I will. Don't get me. I'm going to be the happiest I'll ever be. Without question. It's because I could have had a kid with my first partner, right? We were together for 6 years. You know, we were pretty comfortable. Everything was going status quo, quid pro quo, whatever you want to call it, like as it should. So I could have had a partner with them, child with them, but I didn't, and I didn't want to. I know I didn't want to at that point, but I could have, right? But I didn't want to, so I didn't. And then the next partner, I was waiting, but something was right. I was like, no, I'm not sure about this. I don't really want to have a child with you. So I left them. And then the next partner, again, I was like, I don't feel like I've actually been a parent with you is going to be quite as, I mean, it's interesting. It would be interesting because it'd be very international. It'd be very weird, but very exciting, fun. But also at the same time, I think there would be a challenge in regards to what values I have as a parent and what values you have as a parent. So I think those are going to clash quite badly. And I don't feel that's going to be helpful for our child. So no, not going to do that either. Obviously, there's loads of different reasons why these relationships didn't work, but going down the parenting route, this is it. Also, I was looking at myself. Am I the kind of person who could be the kind of dad I wanted to be? And that was it. I think that was it. I knew that I know they say there's no such thing as being ready for a child. And I agree with that. Absolutely. You're never ready because of the stories I've heard. There is, like, people have read books and they've done research and background research. They've done all the things. But actually, what actually happens when you have a child, it's the things that you cannot put in a book and prepare someone for. It's the stuff that you cannot, you know, go, oh, get ready for this happening and da-da-da. There's stuff that you just can't prepare for. And I go, okay, right. So basically it's kind of a treading water situation. You're literally just like, do what you can. I'm like, okay. But I never felt like the kind of person who'd be ready to go through that experience whilst also holding the values that I wanted to hold as a parent. And that's not saying anything other than just basically still being able to be me as a parent. That was it. You know, that was the thing. But then actually, I think that was the challenge, was I didn't know what I was. I didn't know who I was. So actually, I would have ended up being not the parent I wanted to be, which would have hurt doubly. So I would have been responsible for someone else's life that I brought into the world while not being solid in who I was. And that would have I could see that falling easily into a trap where I would have felt like a failure as a parent from day one, because I wasn't simply being the person that I wanted to be as demonstration of the multitudes of what a human being could be. And then someone actually did say, the best way, and this was their advice, obviously, and I really took this on. It was on a Russell Brand podcast, and I really appreciated it. She said the best way to be a parent is actually just to be who you are. It's not about trying to set these ridiculous expectations and guidelines and boundaries, but actually you just be you. Let them know when you have, when you're too busy for something, and let them know why, and talk to them and communicate with them appropriately and stuff like that. But be you. Because what you're doing is you're showing the complexity of a human being, a real person. Because what can easily happen is when a parent tries to set this example of, some stand-up citizen, an adult, slowly what can happen is this element of a parent is perfect, a parent is infallible, a parent is invincible. And that's not necessarily the case. And also what it allows is the child, and this really made sense to me. It allows the child to grow, understanding that they too are imperfect. But when you demonstrate as a parent your imperfections and then the okayness with imperfection, then you're actually telling them that they can be wrong about something, they can have something wrong, and it's not the end of the world. It's fine. And of course, growing up with that is incredibly valuable, because it means that you don't have that fear of failure or getting it wrong or messing up or being wrong or anything like that. And that is obviously one of the biggest things that can get in the way. So I went on this journey of obviously being, more and more who I am today. And now I'm like, it's not that I'm ready to be a parent. It's just that I am the person I want to be so that I can be the best parent I can be. That's really where I'm at. But that's it. That's the only way I can really measure it. I can't measure it in terms of how you raise the child or what you do with the kid and all this stuff. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, what are traits of good parents? Let's see. How to be a good parent. 1, guide and support, not push and demand, right? Parents naturally want their kids to succeed and may push, prod, bribe, demand, or even threaten their kids with punishment to get them to practice an instrument, excel at a sport, achieve top grades, and so on. The fact is, being a tiger mum or dad isn't likely to get your child further than giving kids lots of support and gently nudging if and when they need it. Let kids be independent. Another one. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just go through the titles. Remember, kids are always watching. And this is why I think I felt it was great advice for a person to just be themselves, because they are. I remember the first time I caught my dad, we grew up having like dinners around the table as families, right? And that's what we did. And of course, it was about table etiquette. It was about understanding, knife and fork and putting them together when you're done and keeping them separate when you're not done and stuff like that. But as I grew up, those rules faded away very quickly, just because people just stopped paying attention to it. And I was like, well, there's no point then. Like, this is silly. So now naturally all the time, I just put my cutlery together and that's it. Kids are always watching. And yes, and that was it. And I remember the first time I caught my dad. He didn't know I was there, but I caught him running his finger around the side of a plate and putting it in his mouth. And I was like, oh, my God. How dare you? This is what you're like when I'm not watching. How dare you? And it shattered everything. It shattered so much. It was ridiculous. And I kind of thought, why are you holding us to this standard if, this is what you're actually like? Didn't make sense. Never be mean, spiteful, or belittle your children. Show your kids you love them every day. Acknowledge when you make mistakes and apologize. Discipline effectively. So that obviously speaks to this element of don't hit your kids, because that's not effective. That's constantly overshooting the mark of understanding when a person's done something wrong. If you shot someone in the foot every time they made any kind of mistake, be it trip over their own feet to running a red light, then they're not going to be able to discern between what is a good what a small mistake is and a big mistake is. Every mistake is equally large, and you can see how that's problematic. Look at what your child needs, not at what you want your child to be. Know what your kids are doing and with whom. Teach kids to be good people. That last one's a challenge, man. Knowing what your kids are doing with whom. I think that one, this is the one that I think I'm challenged with the most. Because I like even working with, and again, I'll obviously refer to you, working with young people. I did see the comments come in, by the way. I am a parent to Dexter. I'm not, though, because I don't know what he's doing and who with most of the time. This is the one that plays on me the most. Like, again, working with young people, working with people your age, we can't know what you're doing all the time. We can't. And obviously you're going to feel a certain element of invasion of privacy if we are to know where you are and who you're with at all times. Obviously, we're not your parents or guardians, so it's kind of inappropriate that we do. So let's just put that, full stop. But you get what I mean, right? It's a thing. And I get it now. Growing up, I would go to parties, stay out till 3 a.m, and my parents would be mad at me. And it took me a while to realize they were never mad at me because I went to a party. They were mad at me because I didn't tell them. That's what they were mad at. And it took me a while to realize that, because obviously I didn't tell them I was going to party because I thought they wouldn't let me go to a party. Turns out they didn't care that I was going to parties. They cared that I wasn't telling them that I was going there, because of course they're not hearing from me. And again, I think you probably first realize this when you're in a relationship with someone and they are not necessarily doing anything dangerous, but they're in a situation where suddenly you feel an anxiety of something could happen to them. And the moment you get there, your world goes bang and you realize why people aren't mad at you for going places and hanging out with people, certain people. Some people, yeah, they're going to be mad you hang out with them. Absolutely. So Ethan, again, kudos to you for not hanging out with Charlie anymore. Let's everyone, round of applause, Charlie, Ethan, well done. Dab on the haters. We love it. But it is about communication. If this person can tell you where they are, where they're going. My partner has a great system. And I mean, thankfully, all of her friends, thankfully, no, not thankfully. I guess in context, in a way, her friends now have all got boyfriends, right? They're all kind of cuffed up and stuff. Yeah, exactly, Veronica. Round of applause, Ethan. Go on. They're all cuffed up, right? They've all got a partner. But before, all of them were actually single. They'd left their partners. They were all single, dating in the dating scene. And they had a system, a really strict system of when they went to a man's house that they were dating, no matter how long they've been speaking to them for, a month, 2 months, whatever. If they went to this man's house, they would literally text all of their friends the address and the time that they were arriving, right? It was like a thing. And of course, there's a very dark undertone as to why. But the fact of the matter was they did it as a force of habit. They had all of each other on Find My Friends. They could locate each other at all times. And it was just this thing of, I don't have to worry about you because I know where you are. I mean, I can still worry about you, but not as much as I would if I knew you were going to a stranger's house and I had no idea where you were. And these are adults, right? These are adult women basically going, I'm going to be in a situation where something could happen and I need someone important to me to know where I'm at. And I think this is the challenge with teenagers is one thing I want to have happen is that my children trust that I'm not going to stop them from going to house parties and stuff, as long as I can trust that they will tell me if A, something goes wrong so that I can sort it out, or B, just communicate to me that they'll be out till a certain time in the night and that's it, right? That's it. If they can do that, I don't really mind so much where they go and what they do so much. Obviously, there's boundaries to that as well. I'm not having you go into an actual like crack house. That's not going to be okay, right? But at the same time, house party, like fine. I've been to those. Sometimes the worst thing that happens is two lads get in a fight with each other because one of them said, mum's a skaghead or whatever, and then that's it. Or someone drinks too much and ends up in hospital, and they survive, right? That's been my story anyway of house parties. But nonetheless, as long as the parents are aware, right? Because again, I don't know any situations or many situations where parents are like overly strict about that sort of stuff. And ironically, the one situation where I did experience a parent who was super strict. That child was the most disobedient and the biggest risk taker, because they were like, I'm going to get in trouble anyway, so I might as well go the whole hog. They were the biggest troublemaker, the one who had the strictest parents. So yeah, I'm not going to try and stop my kid from doing all this stuff, but it's hard to build that level of trust, because of course that level of trust is broken the moment you say no, you're not doing it. And I think that becomes a challenge, because of course you understand, I would understand, right? And it's kind of like you you now looking at, this is going to sound bad, but follow me on this. You have a 5-year-old little brother or sister. They want to go on a big swing. They want to go on a big person swing, right? But they actually belong in the little kid swing. They don't want to go in the little kid swing. They want to go on the big person swing. So they start kicking up a fuss and they're screaming and upset and da-da-da. And you're just like, no. And why? Because you see the risk that they could put themselves in going on the big swing, right? You see the risk. You know exactly what's going to happen. You see it crystal clear as day. You know what's going to happen. They don't. And they don't care. They don't care that they don't see what's going to happen. They don't care. They want to go on the big swing. That's what they want to do. And this is a similar situation between people my age and your age, is that I could see stuff, right, that is a huge risk, and I know exactly the consequences and everything. Whereas people your age, not you, but people your age, would not see them and therefore would be like, I don't care about the consequences. I want to do it. And then obviously what you would then have to sit back and do, you would go, fine, do you know what? Okay, I'm not going to be a bad person here. And there's a fork in the road. Either I say, no, you're not getting on the big swing. That's it. Done. Go to your room. And then, you hate me forever or whatever happens. I don't know. Or I say, do you know what? Fine. Okay, you want to do it? Go for it. Go for it. Absolutely fine. And then they get on the big swing. And then either they're on the big swing, they come to no harm and no lesson is learned. And you're like, okay, fine, fair enough. Or you have to watch as the person that you love dearly goes through pain that you knew was going to happen, and not be all high and mighty like, oh, I told you so, but be there for them in emotional support so that they can actually go through a process of learning that lesson healthily on their own and recognize the consequences for themselves. Because when you start going, oh, I told you so, I was right all the time, you're taking away the power of that lesson of consequence. And that would be hard for me. That would be so hard for me, because I know that I would be there like, I told you, man, not to get on the big swing. What did I say? What did I say? What did I say? I don't want to say what I said, because you know what I said, because you were there when I said it. You heard me say it, but you said I don't care, so you got on the swing, and now look what's up. Okay, so next time, listen to me. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong the next time. It's hard. It's hard. Anyway, so many comments coming in. I feel like one of the most important things of being a good parent is to be supportive of your child and let them know that they can talk about anything. This makes me think about the stuff my parents did that probably caused a lot of my own issues. Well, I'll get to this point, Twigsy, as well. And again, I want to be careful, because obviously I know that for some of you, you're going to be thinking about your own parents. So I want to, be very careful about what I say here. Oh, Ethan's doing some thinking. Big brain time. All right. To be honest, I think the more you try to stop your kid from doing something, the more they're going to want to do it, and the more likely they are to do it. Obviously, it doesn't apply to everything. No, you're absolutely right. I haven't had any water since we started. I just realized, and oh my God. The thing is, and I think this is it. This is probably stuff that sits in the parenting books. But actually, what you don't prepare for is the one time where your kid comes to you, and I bet this happens to almost every parent, where they come to you and there is something they really want to do that is such a big no-no that you're terrified, because you're fully aware that you stopping them from doing it, they still have the freedom and ability to go and do it anyway. And this is something that, so for example, someone could come to me and say, oh, like my child, let's say this is a really weird, a very, very strange example, but I'm just trying to think of one off the top. Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, my friend's just got a new motorbike. He's just passed, and he's just passed his motorbike, and he's asked me to take a ride with him. He's only got one helmet though, right? Now, my whole everything in me, that's, in fact, yes, good, perfect example. Immediately, no, absolutely not. No, because there's been 2 people in my family who have been on bikes. I mean, it's not just about me either, to be honest. Loads of people have been on bikes, and not only have they had serious injuries, paralysis, but death, right? And that's happened within my family because of motorbike accidents. So I'm just like, hell no. Without a helmet, are you high? But that could be a situation that I'm in as a parent where I'm like, I'm stopping you from doing this. Is exactly this is the big swing example. This is the big swing example, right? This is it. I could try and stop that child from doing that thing when I see the consequences that they do not see, because they're like, oh, it's fine, it's legal, it's safe, they're absolutely fine, da da da. And I could be there like, I really, really, really do not want you to do this. And then I become the bad guy because I'm stopping them from doing something that is a huge risk and a huge danger. Now, of course, the chances are no harm would come to them if I let them go out. But it's the risk that I take in letting them go out and then coming to serious harm, because I will not forgive myself for that. And I'm not going to let my child learn that lesson because I'm like, oh, but I must be a good parent and let them have the freedom to do what they want. And also, if I stop them from doing that, you're absolutely right, Twigsy. There's a bigger risk that they are going to take that freedom and go and do it anyway. So what the hell? Like, and it would hurt, because it's not that they didn't listen. It's the fact that, yeah, they put themselves at risk. And then I'm thinking, how often does my child put themselves at risk? It's devastating. And I'm sure it puts a lot of stress on. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges, is watching a young person grow up, make mistakes that you're fully aware of, but actually watching them, just sitting there, watching people make mistakes and just letting it happen. Because this, what you said there, Twigsy, I'll get to what you said, Ethan. What you said there, Twigsy, is funny because it's basically the same as watching any person make the same mistake you made and going, oh, that's so dumb. Why would you do that? Da, da, da. Because they don't know. They don't know. They haven't learned that lesson yet. And that's the challenge. Could you watch someone make a seemingly stupid mistake and not say a word, not say anything? Could you watch someone at a busy motorway section or busy road walk up to that road and not think about stopping without looking left or right? Could you? Right? Could you really do that? Could you watch someone take a really hot soup and put it to their mouth and let them drink it? Could you do that? Right? Without saying, whoa, 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 hang on, slow down. And again, don't think about a random person. Think about anyone you love. Think about it that way. Could you really watch someone make a stupid mistake? Could you watch someone? I've seen this on a motorized scooter, one of those mobility scooters driving down the motorway. I've seen that. Could you literally sit and just watch them and not think for 1 second, oh my God, that's the dumbest thing in the world? Because that, and I'm not joking, that is exactly what it feels like being a parent watching your child do stuff, is watching them do these things. And you're like, at what point did you not think that that was a bad idea? But of course they didn't. They didn't. And so it's really hard. It's a very fine line to draw between stopping someone from doing something. Okay, Veronica, thanks for letting us know. Stopping someone from doing something because you see a very, very big risk involved in it, and allowing someone to do something that is a risk that isn't going to cause them harm but will hurt them. Because sometimes a parent also lets you do things that actually does cause you harm. And, you know, where do you go from there? Right, I'll just quickly go back, and then I want to go back to something else you said, Twigsy. So Ethan said someone can't have a passenger on a motorbike without 2 years of riding and a full license with at least... Okay, so, all right, Ethan, thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. I think maybe I was being too literal, but you get what I mean then, in that regard. You get what I mean. Thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't know that, actually. So now I do. Haha, empowered with knowledge. So, yes, that's a good point. But I think, let's say even then, they can't have a passenger on a motorbike without 2 years of riding and a full license. But let's say even then, the kid comes to you and goes, oh, they've been riding a bike for 2 years. They still don't have a helmet. And also bear in mind, just because they've been riding a motorbike for 2 years, there's a human being on the back, and there's a different weight, right? Unless they've been riding for 2 years with weight on the back, and even then, they haven't had someone strapped to them. It's a whole different kettle of fish. And I think it's fine if they said, we're just going to be in, this is where we're going to go. If they came to me and said, my friend has just passed, they've done 2 years of motorcycling, they've got a helmet, and actually we're just going to go around this little suburban area where it's really quiet, you know, this is where we're going to be, I'll be like, yeah, okay, cool, no problem, have fun, be safe. But if they just say, oh, I'm going to be on my mate's bike for a couple of hours, and I say, do they have a helmet? I don't know. Then I'm going to be like, all right, I've got questions, come and sit down. Do they have a helmet? Now I'm going to be asking them, have they had a license for 2 years? Where are you going to go? I'm asking all the stuff now, and I sound like I'm trying to stop them from doing it, when actually I'm like, are you going to be safe? Because there's a difference between, you know, all of these things here, right? then yeah, so there's that. Now, Twigsy, this is something I've said before I get to your last comment. Or actually, one of the things that causes the child wants to do it more is that parents just say no and don't explain why. So the child doesn't understand why they shouldn't do it. You know, I think this is another thing with parenting, though. I think this is another thing. And actually, do you know what, Twigsy? I'm going to say this from personal experience, as this is hard. This is so, look at this is some of Dexter's hair flying around the screen. Is it going to come back? No. This is one of the things that actually makes parenting so challenging, is that it's a lot of years. It's a lot of years of repetition. And I think I experienced this even in my working with young people. The number of times I've had to repeat myself is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Now imagine having to say the same thing day in, day out, constantly. And not only having to say the same thing day out, like imagine again your 5-year-old brother or sister or anyone driving their mobility scooter down the motorway. It's incredibly dangerous. It's not smart. And you tell them, day one, you tell them, don't do this, right? Because da-da-da. But they do it again. And you're like, okay, I told you yesterday, don't do this. I'm not joking, Twigsy. This is genuinely a thing. Don't do this because da-da-da, right? Eventually, you start to get tired of having to explain every single time, because you get the impression they don't pick it up. Now, by the way, I'm not excusing anything. I'm just explaining, right? I'm just explaining. The number of times I've had to explain why something is bad to young people. I'm not even talking about the college, by the way, because I've actually been working with young people for like 4 to 5 years. Welcome back, Veronica. So a few years before I even met you guys for the first time, right? And the number of times I've had to repeat myself to people who make the same mistakes time and time again. And eventually what I start to think is, maybe it's because my explanation is not good enough. But my shortcoming is I don't actually have a good enough reason that lands with this person for them to realize. And then here's the other clincher. Then there comes this other level of, maybe this person doesn't want to learn this lesson yet. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's a different way around this. So eventually what it comes to is a simple case of no. And I think you'll hear teachers, adults say this, because I'm sick and tired of explaining this to you, right? And what they mean is, I've explained this multiple times. Now, the challenge is, of course, when you're working with multiple young people, is that you can't keep track of how many times you've said one thing to one person. So you might have said it 10 times to one student, and then you say it to another student, and you're thinking, I've said this so many times already. I'm sick and tired of saying this. Do you see how complicated this gets so quickly? So what I do agree with you, Twigsy. It's important to explain things. It absolutely is important to explain things. You're definitely 100% right. Yes, there needs to be a justification behind it. And I do agree that sometimes if there is not a good, and even as an adult, I get this. Between you and me, I actually was given a task at work recently, and there wasn't really much reasoning behind it. There didn't feel to be much of a justification behind it. And I was like, you've just given me work for the sake of work. This project sounds like BS, to be really honest with you, but I'll do it because, something to do, sure. But it sounds like a whole load of BS. I'm not even gonna lie, it sounds rubbish. But but because of that, I'm like, my motivation and inspiration to do anything towards this is really very small. So of course, if someone's stopping you from doing something and they don't give you an explanation, yes, the motivation to follow that rule or listen to that guideline is minimal, because you're like, well, that's not what don't do it just because don't do it. Like, well, hello, you might as well tell me not to have lunch because I shouldn't. Well, eventually I'm going to want to. So what kind of BS is this? So I do follow you on that. I think the thing is, what I'm saying here is that when it comes to parenting, I haven't got the first-hand experience. I have obviously spent a lot of time working with young people, but I'm not going to say that that's my experience of working, of having my own kids. But it's actually really, really hard. And maybe this is a place where I'm grateful in that you guys, for example, here feel comfortable sharing with me, because actually that's where a lot of this comes into play. And I think with parents, I think with adults actually, and you've seen me jump into this role sometimes as well, so I can't even excuse myself, is that there comes into this dynamic where we're into a topic where my age and experience trumps yours. So I default into that place of, I just know more than you, right? And you've seen that from me, okay? You have seen that from me, and you'll see it from your parents. But the part where it falls apart is that there doesn't get to be a further discourse or conversation where I take a step back from that position and go, okay, let me really hear what this person has to say. Let me really understand and hear where this person's coming from with their perspective, right? And I think that's something that I really want to bring to my own parenting experience, because at least then I'm not constantly making my child feel like an inferior to me, and thus then coming to this place where I'm somehow right all the time about everything. Because I won't be. I absolutely won't be. But it's still going to be, it's easy for me to say this now. It's so easy for me to sit here and say this now. But actually for me to experience it and practice it will be a lot harder. Because also the other thing is that I understand parents are also sleep deprived for many, many, many years. So imagine also, like, imagine you guys on your worst day where you haven't slept, you're grumpy as hell, you're just fed up, and then also you have to deal with the person who has to drive down the motorway on a mobility scooter, but you're actually directly responsible for their life because you're the one who brought them here. Like, then we're getting into a place of parenting, which I'm scared of. I'm scared of that place because I know that's where I'm going to make most of my mess ups, I feel, is when I'm on my worst day where I'm tired, I'm fed up, I'm tired because of the child, because of whatever reason, and it's giving me shit in the middle of the supermarket because it wants some stroop waffles, and I'm like, we have stroop waffles at home, or you can't have stroop waffles because you didn't eat your broccoli, and they're screaming and crying, and all I'm thinking is, I just want to have a sleep that lasts longer than an hour. That's all I want. So you crying here ain't doing nothing for me. And you know, and I'm just like, oh my god. And then I'm thinking, I know I get why people don't have children. but yeah, and I think it's so no, but this is what I'm saying, Ethan. That's exactly the point, is that mobility scooters aren't legal on motorways, but this person continues to take their mobility scooter on the motorway. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly my point. So yeah, so it's that. So it's also that understanding of, imagine your worst day you've had in terms of mental health, in terms of tiredness, your crappiest day, and then imagining on top of that you have to deal with a child that cries and shits itself, and the only person it relies on is you, and you know, you can't really have a spare moment because your time is spent making sure this thing doesn't die because it can't even hold its own head up, or because it doesn't know how to use a toilet yet. You know, it's such a challenging time, and I don't know when any person comes to that realization. What I wish is that people didn't come to that realization when they have children. I kind of don't want it to be like when they have their own kids, then it's like, oh, this is why my parents were like this and da da da. I kind of wish it was more different. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I'm making it sound like there's a bias. Sometimes parents do make bad decisions, and I'm not going to put that down to bad parenting per se. I think it's a matter of people do what they can with what they have, and so that basically the so-called bad decisions are merely the best choice that person had available in their mind to make, and that'll be based on a whole bunch of factors, right? Not everyone reads a book on parenting, but then also parenting books don't give us all the information we need. So, I mean, I guess the best thing to do is to equip us as best we can. I've overlooked a couple of comments I haven't seen yet. So, hang on. Here we go. Twigsy. One of the things that causes the child to do, oh, you know, you've done a bit. Ethan, part of life is learning from risk we take. If we don't take the risk, we won't learn from it. Yes, it's hard to watch a loved one take a risk, but it's still something that will happen no matter what. Yes, but again, let me think. Okay, I've made this funny. There was a time. This is some of the things I hear. You're absolutely right, Ethan. Absolutely right. Yeah, totally agree. Yes, that sometimes, you know, but persons make their own mistakes. There were things that I did that growing up that were just like, and I obviously I'm going to say this anyway, and it's kind of an unwritten thing, but I'm still going to say these are not reflections on the parents. These were just me being a damn child, okay? These are just me being a damn child. I remember this so vividly still, because obviously it was quite traumatic. I remember, you know, the stand-up fans, the fans that probably people put in their bedrooms, just fans, the big ones, right? Stand up quite tall. I put my finger in one of those as a kid. I'll never forget it. Put my finger right in it. Don't know what I was thinking. Clearly didn't think of the consequences, but just went and put my finger in it. And it dashed up my finger, something fierce. Properly dashed up my finger, and I was just like, and of course I'm looking at it like, huh, so that's what it does. But I can't tell if I thought this at the time or whether, you know, I thought about it later, but obviously I think it was a thing of like, well, of course that's what's going to happen, right? Another one, I kept razor blades. So you might see in barbers, they have these razor blades that you can, I don't know. They're kind of similar to the ones that are put in actual, razors for shaving and stuff, but they're bigger ones. They're like squared off razor blades. I don't know why I thought it'd be a good idea to carry one of those around in my pocket. And this was when I was much younger. I was like, 7 or something. And there was a reason they were around the house. And yeah, so they weren't even around the house. They were in a damn toolbox. They weren't around the house, just laying like in the bathroom and stuff. They were in a toolbox, but I knew that's where they were. So I went and got one, and I thought it'd be cool to have because it was so sharp and stuff. And I love sharpening pencils because back then, this was actually when I lived in Ghana. That's how we sharpen pencils. They did have pencil sharpeners, these ones, but actually I saw a lot of people doing it with a razor, and I thought it was really cool. So I thought, oh yeah, wicked. Like I'll sharpen my pencil with a razor. So I would keep one in my pocket. Yeah, basically, I kept one in my pocket, right? And I forget it's there. So then I reach into my pocket, nice and easy, like, oh yeah, let me just reach in my pocket. Boom, slices my finger open. And I'm like, right, again, okay, here we are. So another one. I remember, what else? These are all things that are like, think about how much worse that could have been, basically. Think about how much worse that could have been. And that's why it's yes, you're right. You let children take risks, but there's a certain area of risk that you just like, no. And I'll go to an extreme, Ethan, on purpose so you understand where I'm coming from. Is like, you don't teach a child how to cross the road by letting them get hit by a car. So then you go, so what did we learn? That's not how you learn, right? That's not it. Some things are important for you to go, this is why we don't do this. For example, this is why you don't open up the oven and smack your hand in it and pick stuff out, because actually that could lead to some serious burns. And if it's a glass baking tray, God knows what else could happen, right? That's why we don't do these things. And it's things like choking hazards on toys. You don't want to wait for a child to nearly choke to death before you go, right, so we've learned this lesson. Do you know what I mean? It's stuff that you really don't want to have happen because these things can lead to all sorts of developmental challenges and boundaries or barriers. So it's yes, risk is important, but at the same time, you're like, but you've got to keep an eye on them because they don't know. For example, oh God, I didn't think about this until I saw the video, and it literally is like, of course you don't. But I would have done this. So when you have a baby in a cot, you don't give it a blanket. You do not give a baby in a cot a blanket. And there I am thinking, well, why not? You tuck it into bed, give it a pillow. Like, duh, you keep its head up, put it in a blanket. That's what every bed is like. Why would you leave a cot just unblanketed in a cot? Like, why would you do that? And then I saw a video where thankfully the baby survived. But the baby, of course, is grabbing stuff, but it doesn't quite know how to see and grab and pull. It doesn't understand that. It's grabbing, but it doesn't understand how to grab and pull. So what it did was it grabbed the blanket, pulled it over its own face, and then began to suffocate. Because it didn't understand how to pull the blanket off, it laid there and began to suffocate. Now, thankfully, it was being recorded, so the mum caught it and was able to get in there and help it. But, like, oh my God. So that's why you don't put things in a cot with a baby either. You don't, because it'll grab stuff. Next thing you know, it's on its face and, yeah, cot death. Oh my God. Oh. So it's all sorts of things that need to be considered. And this is why I think calling people bad parents is so harsh, because it's all down to what they feel, or what they know to respond to and what to do. And this is what I mean. I had no idea about no blankets in a cot. So I would have if I hadn't seen that video, I would have put my child at risk, right? I would have put my child at risk, unless, of course, they teach you this during pregnancy or something. I don't know. But I would have put my child at risk of dying. That would have been me if I hadn't seen that video. And I'm thinking, what else have I not seen about parenting that is a huge risk that I could literally go, that's a great idea, I'm going to do that. That's actually a really dumb idea as a parent. Next thing you know, I want to be the best parent in the world, as every parent I believe wants to be, right? And I'm messing it up. I'm getting it so wrong because of one thing that I didn't consider as a parent, because you're not raising a dog or a cat. And this is another thing. This is going back to the whole animals versus humans thing. I get animals are lovely. You see my relationship with my cat. I don't hate animals at all. I love them to bits. They're wonderful things. But humans are complex. Humans are complicated as fuck. They are so And if you think you can just raise a child by doing some checkbox activity, then clearly it's like, no, it's far more complicated than that. And of course, you're raising a whole person, a whole human being. You cannot possibly think that the whole human being can come out perfectly fine and healthy by doing a little bit of, oh, did that, everything's fine. Why is there a problem? Because it's a human being. So I think it's really understanding that the complexities of challenges in parenting, and of course the parts where things don't go to plan, the parts where things aren't going quite as well, come down to the fact that it's really hard to know. And I think there's a very controversial thought I have of how much access that parent has to education and knowledge on parenting before they can become a parent. And I think that plays a role in it as well. Because also there's a huge risk of a parent projecting their worldview onto their child. I mean, actually, it's an inevitability. Sorry, that's not a potential. That's inevitable that they will do that. Because by nature, that's what they're going to do, right? And not forcefully projected, like, horses are bad because they're huge and they trampled my grandfather. But just little things that they'll respond to, right? And it'll be like phrases and responses. And we grow up watching our parents, everything. So the way that they respond to stuff is how we learn to respond to stuff. So if a parent responds badly to police more than twice or three times, we're going to naturally pick up that police are not great people. So we're going to grow up just believing that. We won't know why, but we will. And that's going to be it, right? And it's the same with things like drug abuse, alcohol abuse, cursing, swearing, shouting, verbal abuse, psychological abuse. All of these things we're just going to pass down unless we have the access and availability and knowledge to kind of go, these are things I want to be aware of in myself so that I cannot project these onto my children. Now, I'm still going to project stuff without question. I still bite my fingers. I still do that. I still have bad eating habits. I know those things are going to be passed down to my children unless I sort them out, which I don't. I'm kind of like, are they world changing? I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to go through the comments because Twigsy, you said some things and Veronica, you said some things. Right. Yeah, it sucks because that's one of the reasons that spoiled kids exist, because the parents are all too often just too tired or fed up to deal with a screaming child, so they just get what they want. Yeah. Well, see, there's something to say about every comment. I will also add to that that spoiled children isn't just about them being told to shut up and scream and get what you want. It's also down to a parent sometimes wanting actively to give their child whatever they want. So if a parent has the ability to give their child everything that child wants, not to shut them up because they love them, to them, they've been a good parent. I'm listening to my child's needs and I'm giving them to them. I'm letting them have it. Oh, you want piano lessons? Here's piano lessons. Oh, you done 2 lessons? You don't want to do it anymore? Okay, fine. What do you want? Guitar lessons? Fine. Here's guitar lessons. Oh, you don't like that anymore? Okay, no problem. Here's drumming lessons. Oh, you want to be a painter? Here's an easel. Do you know what I mean? And that sounds wonderful, but actually that child is not learning anything about resilience, about digging in, about actual practice and mastery of a task. All they're learning is, if I don't like something, I need to just try harder at it because it's gotten too hard, I just need to stop and life will change for me. That's what they're learning. That's still spoiled and entitled, because it teaches that thing of, I don't need to work hard to get what I want. And that leaves you in a very, very bad place if you think about it. Really bad place. Because what you're left with is expecting the world to bow down for you. And unless you're quite lucky and you end up in quite a good job and everything works out, you're going to struggle. You're really going to struggle because the world will expect you to work for what you get. And if you don't, then yeah, you're not going to get very far. Okay. Another one. I love how you didn't get upset because it hurt or anything. I totally see you looking at the child. A number of times I did that. I got fascinated with it. I'd look at stuff that happened and be like, oh, huh. Sometimes, okay, so another thing very quickly that happened, and I still look at my sister when this happens. This house sounds terrible. My childhood was wonderful. I just want to say that right now. I had a wonderful childhood, but children do make mistakes. So back in the day, we also had someone doing our garden, and don't ask why this was in our garden, why they needed it, but they did. There was a pickaxe in our garden, and maybe that's gardener's fault, but whatever. The pickaxe lying around, so me and my sisters are playing around the pickaxe. I didn't realize my sister was behind me. I pick up the pickaxe, swing it back, smack her in the eye. She still has a scar, right? This is over 20 years we're talking, over 20 years. She still has a scar in her eye right there where I smacked her in the eye with a pickaxe. And again, it's just every now and then I look at it like, huh, I just nearly knocked your eye out. I literally nearly half blinded you. Wild. I just remember the time I was eating chili and accidentally swallowed a carrot slice whole, lodged in and flat in my throat, and I couldn't breathe. Yeah. No, that'll be it. And I think, and actually, this is another thing, right? It really, this is something else that I think is important to speak to about parenting, is that it's so tough. If I experienced any one of my loved ones dying before old age, before natural causes, there is absolutely no question that that would impact how I keep the people I love safe and how I worry about how safe they are, right? So I don't know if this affected my parents at all. I don't know, but I've got a hole in the back of the hole. I've got a massive scar on the back of my head. Some of you might have seen it before. Scar on the back of my head where I fell into a marble fireplace when I was like 4 years old. My skull cracked and the scar's still there. Right? I had to get stitches and everything. It was a bad time. But I don't really remember that. Don't have much memory of that, but it happened. Then, actually, I have a really weird kind of strange memory of that, but I know it happened. There's a scar, and I kind of have memories, but nothing vivid. Then there was a time that actually is, funnily enough, completely blanked from my memory, and I think this is why. Wow, this has just clicked. Huh. I think this is exactly why I have. Huh. Wow, how has this just clicked? So when I was younger, bear in mind, this stuff was more affordable back then. So please, again, we had a family boat. It was a small one. It was a small family boat, right? And we would go up and down the River Thames of the day. I don't know. Every now and then, like in summertime, we'd go up and down the River Thames. It's a small boat. And we were in a canal. And I remember, I don't remember. I only have recollection of my parents' story and version of this. So actually, I have no memory of this. But I apparently would have been looking over the edge. Thankfully, I had a life jacket on, because if I hadn't, I would have gone. No question, gone. But yeah, I had a life jacket on. And apparently, I must have been looking over the side of the boat, and I must have fallen in. Right? So I fell in, and I fell into the water between the boat and the side of the canal. Now, bear in mind, a boat's pretty big. Yeah? I mean, regardless of when you're small, a boat is big and you can't reach onto the side. So effectively, I fall in the water, and I must have been panicking. I must have been crying, screaming, God knows what, right? But thankfully, obviously, I got out. But that's another thing, of course. My parents would have turned their eye away for 30 seconds. 30 seconds of not looking at a child, and next thing you know, their child's nearly drowning in the water. Now, that, and by the way, the connection I made is that probably explains why I can look at pictures of like big things underwater, not necessarily sea life, animals. I'm getting more comfortable with that. But if you show me a picture of a large piece of machinery underwater, even if it's the propeller of a cruise ship underwater, honestly, I can feel incredibly really uncomfortable. I even watched a video of a guy in GTA landing his plane in the water for fun, right? I don't know why that was the case. I think it was actually, yeah, I can't remember, but he landed his plane in the water, and of course he gets out of the plane underwater and he starts swimming up. And he turns around to look at the plane, and he can see the plane underwater going down. And you suddenly get a vision of how deep into the water they've gotten, because the plane's going quite fast. And I freak out. I close the video down. I'm literally like, oh, and I never understood why I felt like that. I never understood where it came from. But that makes a lot of sense. Because at some point I would have been underwater, and of course, because I was young, I would have opened my eyes, and all I would have seen was the underbarrel of this boat. And of course, I'm underwater, suddenly I'm drowning, I can't breathe, I'm a young kid, I don't know what's going on, I'm freaking out, and all I can see is the boat. That makes so much sense. Guys, this is so therapeutic. Thank you for helping me make connections between my trauma and my past. You guys are wonderful. Love you. Dab on the haters. So yes, this is another thing about that experience there, Twigsy, is the last thing a parent would want to have happen is lose their child, right? I can imagine the loss of a child being, thanks, Veronica, the loss of a child being incredibly traumatic. And so what can happen is that fear then of loss becomes projected onto the child. That fear of something bad happen. And I think this is where strict parents come from, is they are so, the misunderstanding of, you know, the realities of risk, and are so scared of something happening to their child that they become overprotective. I'm not saying this is okay, by the way. I'm just saying is that actually it strangely comes out of a place of caring too much, like way too much, where their fear of loss becomes a matter of, the only way they can control their fear of loss is by controlling the circumstances in which the person they're concerned about is in. So if I'm terrified of losing my child, I will inadvertently try and protect them from any sort of danger whatsoever, which means that child then is left from having any sort of life, because I won't let them do it because I'm scared of losing them or something bad happening to them, right? And that fear can come from a trauma that I've had, where I've already suffered a loss, a really bad loss, or indirectly experienced the loss that someone else has had to go through. I've experienced someone experience loss, and it's impacted me so much that I don't want to go through that. So I protect this thing with all of my energy to stop it from doing anything that could bring it to any sort of risk, and it doesn't have any life, right? Because I'd rather it was safe than hurt. And so it also comes around to this. So when you mentioned getting, like, you know, getting the carrot thing caught in your throat and stuff like that, there is this kind of thing of like, okay, and I'm not speaking to parents about this. I'm not saying this is what your parents are doing or anything, but it did bring up this thing of that's also something that parents do, right? And it's funny because this is a commonality. Parents often say, I'll give my child the thing that I did not get as an adult, right? But funny enough, that just perpetuates a cycle constantly, a cycle. So you, I imagine now, Twigsy, are going to grow up, and your belief will be if I ever have children, I'm going to let them do everything, nearly. They're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want, because this is the stuff that I didn't get growing up. I'm going to let them do it, right? But then actually what could happen is that you're so willing to let them explore and go and be, that actually, and this is a real problem as well with parenting, is that you give them so much freedom that you don't show boundaries. And boundaries are important, because when a person feels so free to do whatever they want, it can also create a problem in development. It can. Boundaries are vital. A child needs to be known when to say no, when to be told they can't. I don't know. I can't go into that much more detail, and I know there's a reason behind it. But yeah, sometimes actually growing up, it's nice to be told no. I think it's because people know you care. If you're out there doing whatever you want, you might suddenly go like, does no one give a crap about what I'm doing? Does no one care about what I'm doing? And suddenly it's this element of loneliness. And I think that's part of it. This is one part of it. Whereas when someone actually steps in and goes, don't do that because it won't be good for you, it shows that you care. It shows that you love them, right? And it shows that you're paying attention to them. So at least there's that. But then that turns into a cycle. So actually, it's not a case of I'm going to give my child what I didn't get. I didn't get what I didn't get growing up, and that's that. That's the end of the story. I'm not going to project what I didn't get onto my children, because actually they may not want it. I remember for ages, I really wanted to have my kid to have one of those motorized little cars, like the BMW things that they could drive around. They just had a brake and a pedal. You know, they go like 5 miles an hour in the back garden. I really wanted to get my kid one of those until my heart was broken. And I realized I could buy them that. I could spend £200 on one of those things, and they would find it the most boring thing in the world. And I would be broken. So actually, it's got nothing to do with my child getting what I didn't get. That's just my story. That's got nothing to do with the child that I introduced into this world. They need to get what they need to get. It's got nothing to do with me, right? So it's also balancing that act. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's fair. Totally fair. So yes, Twigsy, I just remember that I'm so behind on the comments. This is great, by the way, but I realize I'm going to have to get to the book eventually. I just remember the time I was eating jelly. Oh, sorry. You're supposed to put babies at the bottom of the cot as well, because they'll start sliding down otherwise. And if they have one, it will go over their face. Oh, wait, hang on. But no, explain that more, Veronica. Go into more for that. Because I kind of want to get what you mean there. When you say they start sliding down the cot, they're supposed to put them at the bottom of the cot because they'll start sliding down if they have a blanket. Oh, I see. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. No, I see what you're saying. Absolutely, yeah. And if they have one, it'll go over their face. Yes, exactly. Yeah, because they'll do the kicky things with their legs. They'll basically like kind of be shuffling down the bed. Yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right. Good point. Ethan, you've been quiet for a while. Are you okay? Are you just are you buffering, mind buffering, or are you just playing Minecraft? It might wriggle down. Yeah, I get it. Absolutely, it might wriggle down the blanket. Yeah, for sure. I get it. Mm-hmm. I did say, but I think I've gone back to them all. Pretty sure I have. I mean, I thought I did. Did I go back to? Have I read them all? This makes me think about stuff my parents have probably caused a lot of my issues. Yeah, to be honest, I think the more you try to stop your kid, yep, saw that. Someone can't have a passenger on motorbike 2 years. Yep, saw that. One of the things that causes a child to want to do more is the parents that do it. Yep, saw that. Ethan, part of life is learning from the risk we take. Yep, saw that. Mobility scooters aren't legal. Motorways. Yep, saw that. Twigsy, it sucks because one of the reasons that spoil kids exist because the parents are always too often just too tired. Yep, saw that. I love how you didn't get upset. Saw that. I just remember the time I was eating chili. Yep, saw that. You're supposed to put babies at the bottom. Yep, saw that. I think I'm all caught up. Yep, I got it. Oh, you're listening? I'm playing Minecraft. Look at you, mate. Do you know what, Ethan? No, kudos to you, dude, because actually that's exactly how I listen to my audiobooks. I throw on my PlayStation, I just chill and I listen to someone talk to me about some stuff. It's a good time. Yes, accurate. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, so good parenting, I think. No, okay, so I will say there are extremes of bad parenting. There absolutely are extremes, right? And I think things like when you're, I think it's all a measure of how much emotional harm you're putting your child through. I think that comes down to it. So I guess I do want to go back on that. I think it's really coming to a place. I wanted to bring it out to a place where there was a bigger, greater understanding, because I think I thought at times, there were times where I thought my parents were not doing a great job. And I had my opinion on what they should do. But interestingly, I grew up and I was like, actually, you did a fantastic job. You did a great job. Yeah, really good job with what you had, for sure. And I think that's important because I don't want to say that, you know, a parent should be excused for some of the things they do, because sometimes, yeah, people make really terrible mistakes. Yeah, like we make mistakes. We do. And that doesn't make it okay. But I think it speaks to this element of, I think the only way that I can translate it is that we come to an awareness, really, that we can be at odds to other people's stuff, which means other people can be at odds to our stuff. And I think the best thing that we can do is understand why we have the stuff we have, which is why I got so excited when I made the connection between falling in a canal and why I have this great fear of being underwater, is that I'm aware of that stuff now and I know what that's about. So I'm less likely to project that fear onto my kids, because I could grow up, right? Let's say I grow up and my kid really wants to be a deep sea diver. I could never like join them in that. I could support them in it and I'd be like, yeah, that's a great idea, da da da. But if I show that fear I have of the water to them, that could, you know, have an impact on them and how they see the water. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to stop them living out whatever dream they have because of something I've experienced. So I know that that's what it is now, which means I'm able to mitigate that in order to make sure that I'm not giving that to my kid, right? And that's what I think is best, is like, we've got to be aware of our stuff so that at least, and even if we don't have kids, we are going to be in the presence of other people at some point, and we will be influential in some way to them, right? So that's why I think it's a community effort, really. And people do make mistakes, and it's not, again, that they should be excused, nor should they not be condemned for it. But I think it's also a case of, if we come to an understanding of it, it just means that we know how best to stop it happening, right? Or prevent it, or to tackle it, right? I think that's really what it comes down to. When you read your comments saying this reminds me of stuff my parents did that caused some of my own issues. Did I get back to that? I think hang on. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was coming. No, I think I was talking about no. I was talking about how basically our parents, it's actually, that's connected to what I just said, really. Our parents can pass on issues to us, right, inadvertently, not realizing and not recognizing what they're doing, and it because they're so caught up in what's right. And actually, you know, I could speak on, for example, and it's funny because at the time it felt oppressive, but actually it makes sense to me now. But I'm not saying this is everyone's journey. I'm saying this is just how it worked out for me. My mum was really adamant that I was to learn a skill, really adamant that I was to learn a skill. And I found the piano, and actually I skipped for first grade because I was a natural talent at piano. Right? I was really good at it. So I did it, and mum was really like, you're going to do it. She'd take me to lessons every single week. I never really practiced because I was like, eh. But she would take me, and sometimes she would sit me at the piano and make me practice and stuff. She was really getting on, you know, really, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. When we moved country, moved town, wherever, she was like, you're still going to do piano. And even though I hated it, she would make me do that. And I think the problem is that her intentions were for me to learn a skill, because it's important. It is important to have a skill to have, right, of any sort, because it's transferable. And unfortunately, because of the way she went about it, the only thing I learned was actually that I didn't feel my mum loved me very much because I was never good enough. But, you know, it's growing through that and understanding that actually I wasn't wrong. That was my experience of it. But, you know, I can have a better perspective on what she was actually trying to do, which allowed me to kind of feel free from not, you know, feeling not good enough for my own parent. But it's stuff like that then that kind of made me a bit of a people pleaser. And it made me want to please people and make people happy, which obviously connected to my spirit, my character, which was a bit of an entertainer, a bit of a joker, also working in hospitality where I genuinely look after people. It's like I'm making people happy because I'm able to do something well, right? And doing stuff well really works. And also that connects to the fact that when I don't do something well, it hurts a lot more because it's connected to this sensation as a child of not, you know, not making my mum happy, right? Which again is now a fallacy. It's perfectly fine. I'm really going into it, aren't I? This is very personal, guys. Jesus. Just realized, like, whoa, where am I going? But actually, no, the importance of saying this is that's the impact it had on me. But, you know, that sensation growing up is very real. But I grew out of that by reflecting back on it, looking back on it and understanding it, and then being able to work from there, going, right, this is because of this. It's not because there's fundamentally anything wrong with me. There is nothing fundamentally wrong with me. It's the fact that this happened and that shaped the way I do this. So now I can understand that behavior is connected to this. How can I behave that is actually connected just to who I am and what I'm about? And that there sits the freedom that is able to allow us to break the shackles of what are, you know, what we pick up from our parents, good or bad, right? That goes forward. And interestingly, I don't blame my mum for that, right? Because actually she was trying to do something good. She really was. And again, I feel like our parents always do. And I think even when I look at some parents saying stuff like, you know, drugs, let's say, a person can either, we'll go down two different roads. A parent can either say, you know, I wouldn't mind if my kids did drugs. Really don't mind. I think it's fine, right? And they could basically be saying that drugs aren't really that bad. They're experimental. They're a good time. Everyone's had a good, I've had a good time with drugs. It's fine, right? And therefore they're going to be like, well, I don't see the risk. I know they're there, but it's not bad. And they let their kid go off and do drugs. Now, the risk, of course, there is if they don't do it responsibly, their kid ends up going off doing a bunch of drugs and God knows what happens, right? And they don't put the boundaries in place for that child to have drugs. But that could be the offset. That could be the thing. Then another person come along and my child is absolutely not doing drugs. Never. No, it's terrible, because they also have a history where actually maybe the relatives was a drug addict, or they had to work with drug addicts or something like that, and it hurt them and impacted them in such a way where like drugs just isn't going to be a thing in my family. I'm not going to have it. And again, either way, you're looking at a situation where a child's choice is almost taken away, because it's like, well, this is what you think. You're not letting me make my own call here. This is what you think. And the challenge is, again, going right back to it, is sometimes, and again, this is where yeah. And I think the problem is, again, going back to this point of sometimes you are, and actually you, me, whatever, are the person who wants to go on the big swing when we're a little baby, and someone could be warning us. And it's discerning between the moments where we are actually wanting to get on a big swing and we don't realize the risks, and when actually we just want to get on any old swing, but some people think that swings are universally bad. And because as the little person in this situation, we don't know risk at all, we don't understand consequence and risk, it all looks the same. So we're not able to discern the difference between a risk that is actually, right for us to be wary of, reference, until we learn for ourselves. And when we have the ability to do so, that, oh wait, that's not that bad. Oh, that's okay. Oh my God, this is actually all right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. In fact, I'll give you this one. This will be controversial. Actually, I'll give you that one, because I've done enough personal stuff for today. This isn't my confessional box. No need to do this. So Twigsy said, not comparing or anything, but I've had experiences like that. My parents have always had a certain way of looking at people, or almost judgmentally. They often assume the worst in people and always had this sort of distrust towards people unless they knew them very well. And they kind of just passed that on to me. Not to say that I judge people, because I have some trust issues with people I've recently met. Well, there you go. Yeah. And that's it. And see, now on the inside, Twigsy, what you're saying is, I don't want to be this way around people, but I've been conditioned to be this way around people. And this comes right back to the conversation we had recently, right? About the impact on us thinking that human beings are crap. Because if we really, really believe that, then this is the impact we have. We have this impact where we end up treating people that way, and then we pass that behavior on. And again, you can see how quickly and easily that spreads, this natural distrust of people. And it's just such a shame. It's such a shame, because I can hear behind that actually you don't want to feel that way, right? You don't want to feel that way. You don't necessarily want to trust everyone intrinsically, but you want to have a better compass for trust. You want to have your own design compass of trust, so that you can know whether or not to trust someone based on your own experiences, not because of the anxiety that has been put upon you with new people in general. And that's something you would have to practice, right? But then also you have to ask yourself, under what circumstance have my parents been in where they have built this behavior in which they just don't trust people? Because actually there could be a really big story behind that. And again, then you're able to discern that when they do that, they're responding to their stuff that you don't have to respond to anymore. And you can start practicing your own behavior towards how you want to be, while also being sympathetic to the fact that they were just trying to protect you from an experience that they might have had that they don't want you to go through either, right? And again, who knows? It could be just a paranoia in regards to the fact that news media suggests that loads of strangers out there are bad. Pedophiles are on your front door and serial killers live 2 doors down and all this stuff. And, I can understand a person getting into hysteria like that for sure. But of course, it leads to this sort of lifestyle where, basically everyone ends up being quarantined and cut away from the world. Not a great place to be. Definitely, I don't like the fact that when I meet someone new, I immediately get a load of anxieties about the person. I have trouble trusting them. And this again, so yeah, you can start developing you can start developing a different relationship as you grow older. Because actually, also at the same time, what you might find, and again, I want to be careful because I'm talking about your parents here, but what you might find is that your parents could end up happy or happier that you develop the ability to overcome that fear. Because what you could have been able to do is do something they couldn't. And it's not to one-up them. It's actually to go, I've overcome something that you've wanted to overcome, but you couldn't. So and I think as parents generally do, they want their child naturally to I almost feel this. I feel like parents kind of naturally want their children to one up them, but I think that's a projection on my part, because I can imagine situations where that's not the case at all. But I do think our children, I certainly want my offspring to do better than I have. Not that I've done badly. I just want them to do better. I want them to be smarter. I look forward to the day when my child can prove me wrong really well, you know, and can actually bring some information to me that I didn't know or didn't understand or didn't think about before. I really look forward to that day. I'll be so proud of them. Not that I wouldn't be already, but you know what I mean? So actually, it is maybe a challenge that they have unconsciously put on you to go, this is something that we don't know how to deal with. We're putting it on you. And actually, you know, this would be amazing to see you overcome, because we don't want you to have these anxieties around new people, you know? So don't like the fact that when I meet someone new, I immediately get a load of anxieties. Yeah, for sure. And then you had that experience. But the thing is, I mean, obviously, I don't want to speak too much of the details of this betrayal. Every time I thought that I had a best friend, they'd turn on me for some reason and abandon me on negative terms. I think, obviously, I don't know the details of these, so pardon me. I think it can also be, a combination of the two. And it's a challenge to discern whether or not it's your friendships or whether it's actually just the situation with parents. And this will be something interesting to look at and carefully. I mean, Twigsy, I want to answer this very carefully. And maybe this is something that actually would be good to speak on with, you know, with a professional, just because I think they'll hold the space better. And the question could be, when your best friend's abandoning you, could that be a reaction to the conditioning you've had in regards to meeting people because of that element of lack of trust that you've been given, like from childhood, that has created this ongoing sense of distrust in people in general that leads to a relationship where they don't last, because it's not your fault, but you know, you're having this situation where you're like, I find it really hard to trust people. And of course, that repeat thing will beget that same experience naturally. So what I'm saying is that the way you've been raised, unfortunately, is now the byproduct of how your relationships are built, which is based on this careful this careful place where there's a room for distrust, which of course, when you think about it, doesn't make up for, you know, the best relationships. But again, I can, you know, that's just a guess. But that I think that'd be interesting to look at, definitely. Definitely. So who knows? Right, I'm going to read this book because in half an hour, one of you is getting a phone call from me and we have a conversation. So, right, that's a good one though. And tomorrow we talk about social experiments. That was a good one. Any final comments? Ethan, you got anything to say? Veronica, any comments to make? And Twigsy, any final comments you would like to make? Because I didn't read the other ones of these actually. See, oh, here we go. Right, very quickly while I wait for your comments to come through, I'm going to read the other lists of what makes a good parent. Right, because the last one we heard them. So immediately has a strong marriage. I would immediately disagree with that. It's not. It's the fact that there needs to be a marriage at all. To be really honest, I think just a good relationship, a good, mature, healthy relationship. It doesn't need to be a strong marriage. I think that's nonsense, if you ask me. No, bollocks. Certainly not a weak marriage. That's not a good sign. But a strong marriage, no, I disagree with that. Find time for fun. Okay, that wasn't in the first one. Knows how to say no. Boundaries. Cool. Is a great role model. Okay. Shows a child endless love. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, yeah, I would agree with that. Oh, that's it. That's the list. Okay, cool. Oh, your social distancing parenting style based on your zodiac sign. Ooh, okay, I'm not doing that. Right, next one. Good parenting. Right, here's another one. Right, what makes a good parent? Be a good role model. Okay, there it is again. Love them and show them through action. Okay, here we go. Show your love. Practice kind and firm positive parenting. Okay. Be a safe haven for your child. Yeah. See, it's interesting because some of these lists kind of cross over. Not like talk with your child and help their brains integrate. See, that one I don't think came up because that's a big one to me. I definitely agree with that one. Yeah. Reflect on your own childhood. See, this one hasn't come up. Absolutely. Many of us want to parent differently from our parents. Even those who had a happy childhood may want to change some aspects. So yeah, but very often when we open our mouths, we speak just like our parents did. Reflecting on our own childhood is a step towards understanding why we parent the way we do. That one didn't come up. And see, that's another one. Pay attention to your own well-being. 100%. 100%. Do not spank no matter what. Yep, do not. I agree with that completely. Never spank. Just don't. It's terrible. I mean, I think the fact that we've made it an option at all is really quite worrying. But absolutely, spanking is not a great thing. It's one of the worst parenting tools that we've normalized. I think it's good that we've stigmatized it a bit more now. But honestly, I think I would have a lot of questions for someone who spanks their child, because I'd be like, how many options did you have before you came to spanking? Because at least then we're able to understand, did they have options that they thought of, which means basically this is a tool giving exercise where we need to give you better ways of handling this than spanking, putting your hands on your own child. Or if you had options, what made them less effective than spanking? Because then, of course, we're asking, why do we believe that we need to go straight for hitting a child? Why does physical violence become the answer? So yeah. Number 9, keep things in perspective and remember your parenting goal, right? Okay. And then 10, take a shortcut by utilizing findings in latest psychology and neuroscience research. Okay. Well, I mean, that's true. That's not on the other ones either. So 3 different lists come up with 3 different outlooks. So yeah. There are some that are the same, but I think even if you followed every single one of those rules, I still think you're going to make mistakes, and I still think you're going to, mess up your child in some way. And I think mess up means, trauma with a small t, not trauma with a big T. I don't think it's like that. I used to have a best mate who ditched me for my ex. Do you know what? Now do I speak to that? I don't know. It's more a case of, do I have time to speak to that? But then, Ethan, it's you I'm speaking to at 25 too. So, I'm sure that we are literally, I'll jump off this and I'll call you straight away. I'll be fine. Veronica's okay. Twigsy, don't make sense. I see what you mean. I think that could have played into my friendships, but I think the distrust stuff from my parents mainly kicked in around the age of 14. I was a very overly trusting child, to be honest, and I was always doing my best for my friends. I think it doesn't help the area I lived in was full of my older children. About one of my friends was manipulative and borderline psychological abuser. Yeah. Oh yes, it will be. It will be on Zoom. Yeah, it will be there. Ethan, I'll call you there. And I will. Oh God, how am I going to do it? I'll email you. I'll have to send you an email. In fact, hang on. I could quickly do it now, and then at least, like, when it comes to it, it'll be in your inbox, and then it's just done. So very quick. I'll talk to you, Ethan, first about that. Now that, hang on. Let me tell you what I'm working with right now. I'm working with a thing I mentioned, I think last week, about how as you grow up, the things that really suck when you're younger don't suck as much. But actually, I guess you said it, and I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know if that's really had a massive impact, or whether you're just like, this is something that has happened. Because actually, I'll be honest with you, the person that I'm seeing now, the person I'm dating right now, was married to someone who thought I was their best friend. Now, I did not see that because we never hung out with each other. I didn't have their number. So the fact that they thought I was their best friend was a bit odd, because I'm like, we never hung out. We didn't really speak that much. Don't know where you got that from. But that's the situation you're in. That feels similar. The thing that I thought about, right, and this is actually kind of weird because also that happened to me when I was in my mid-20s, was I consider him a friend, but not best friend. my partner of 6 years had an affair like 8 months with this guy who I considered somewhat of a friend. But actually, as time went on, their relationship lasted. They stayed together. They're married now. And I don't know if they have kids. They probably do. They're married now. And actually, I'm really happy for them. Because what I realized was this wasn't ever going to work out for us. This was not the relationship that we were ever going to really thrive in. And that decision is weird because you come to that realization when they do that. They do that, and then you're like, oh, well, I mean, you don't do this, right? But one way of seeing it is like, oh, right, so hang on. This was never going to work. So either you were going to do this later or you did it now. Now, would I rather had this relationship gone on and us for like build better memories, grow closer together, build a better future together, and then you do this, or now? Because apparently this was always going to happen, and that's the way I see it. This was always going to happen. And this doesn't say that it doesn't suck. I think this just says like it's a way of looking at it when you're ready to look at it this way, in terms of with that individual person, you can always say you wish that they had done it differently, but at the same time, you can always thank them for doing it anyway. Because a person who does that is not someone you'd want to be with anyway. A person who's not able to communicate the fact that they're not happy, a person who's not able to share the fact and talk to you about the fact they're not happy, you can just be like, well, then cool. Okay, wish you'd done it differently. Sucks the way you did it. But hey, glad you did it. Because I was never going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. That wasn't going to be the way I wanted to go out. But the fact that you weren't going to talk about it and talk to me and see if we can work this out instead tells me that, you know, this ain't going to work. Now, of course, in terms of communicating, there's a level of maturity you need to go about that. And you want to make sure that if a person really is unhappy in a relationship and there is no visible way for that relationship to work, you let them go. And that's why, you know, I have relationships where I've been like, this ain't working. No one's cheated. No one's done anything wrong. There's been no abuse of any sort. I've just been like, I ain't happy. This is not working. This is not going to work. I think we should leave it here. And it feels weird because technically there doesn't seem to be any hard reason for the relationship to end. But actually, the reason is that there doesn't seem to be a very great future ahead. So we just go, no, just leave it here. It's fine. But the fact that if any of my partners, and actually this is how I felt about the very first person, the person who did this, is the fact that actually part of me came to the realization that they were not able to talk to me about this. They did not have the gusto. After 6 years of being together, they did not have the strength, the gusto, or the ability to simply sit me down and go, Dan, I'm not happy. We need to break up. Right? And talk to me about it. They couldn't. So they went out and hurt me even more to make it a thing. Is that someone I want to be with? Do I want to be with someone who is willing to hurt me more to make it easier for them? That sounds selfish. I'm not doing it. So yeah, I'm kind of like, all right, that's the kind of person you are. Off you go. Done. See you later. You know? And then again, that's not to say it doesn't hurt. It's more to say, yeah, okay, we're not doing it. Now, I think the challenge is that this is what I would say, if your best friend and them stay together and they continue that relationship onwards, that could come to a point where actually you're kind of like, do you know what? It's clear that my relationship with that, maybe I'm sad because I wanted a relationship and I was happy because I had the relationship. But actually what I'm coming to realize is my relationship with that person was better with them. Like that's it. If I love that person and I want them to be happy, but I always knew that they wouldn't be as happy with me as they are with this person, then actually by being with me, they would have been less happy. So in a way, this worked out really well. But that doesn't mean that I don't get to have my own happiness with someone else, which I know I will find, because I will find someone who is honest, who's going to talk to me, who's going to give me the space, as I will give them. I will talk to them if I'm unhappy. I will be open with them. I'll also hold myself accountable and have a mature relationship where, we do talk out our problems and we're able to do that. But we still have time to love each other and we trust each other and stuff like that, because that's a reality I can have too. But this situation here wasn't it. And it sucks. It sucks. But it's the truth. It's the matter of fact of it. And this is coming from someone who has literally been on both sides of that situation. Both sides. Yeah, it's a challenge one. Sorry, Ethan, I'm gonna send you this thing. 1 second. I've been doing all this talking and I haven't even right. Yep. It doesn't need to be that long at all. Yep, there. No. Okay. Sorry, guys. Before I read the book, I'm just gonna make sure that this is all ready to go. And then, Ethan, what I'll do actually is I'm gonna keep this information the same each week. So all you need to do is come back to this email to get into the chat, and then then it's done. When it's ready. Hello, what are you doing? Okay, it's done. Right, I was gonna say. There it is. Oh. There. And send. Done. Done, dilly, undone. Boop. So what have you been saying? Looking back, one of my friends, yeah. There is more to it than what I've said, but I don't want to say it all on live. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, no problem. That's cool, man. I totally hear you. I mean, I still hope some of what I said makes sense and lands. But yeah, I mean, it's eventually what you can, the best you can hope of is that eventually you can kind of go, do you know what, that was best for me. And that maybe you're not in that place right now, but that could literally be, you know, where you go. This was actually what was best for me. And it seems ridiculous to say that now. I completely understand, but that could be where it's at. Could be where it's at for sure. Right. Here we go. Let's see. Where can I get up to? I'm going to go to, which one of you had a problem with procrastination? Let's go up to there. Let me go up to there. And then we'll get to discover your values. And then as of next week, we'll go up to there. Okay. So up to page 15. Now, I say page 15. There's really not a lot of words on these. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, to be honest. In fact, yeah, I'm going to fly through this. This is not going to take long at all. And then we'll call it a day. And then for next Wednesday, unless you want me to read more of this, which you can request, we'll call Wednesday this day. We'll call it From Good to Amazing Day. All right, here we go. Introduction. I got the first word wrong. How am I going to do that? I believe our ultimate purpose in life is happiness. I believe that unless we are happy, nothing else really matters. Happiness will mean different things to different people. But the bottom line is that whatever we do, whether we try to avoid pain or gain pleasure, it's all about happiness. I've dedicated my life to helping people identify and achieve their goals, find balance, and therefore increase their happiness. My mission is to assist them in becoming the best they can possibly be, one person or one group of people at the time. What I also believe is that the process of transforming our lives or certain areas of our lives doesn't need to take years. I've helped hundreds of amazing men and women to become better versions of themselves within months or even weeks. Can you transform your life just by reading this book? Technically, you can. Realistically, you probably won't. I share here with you some of the top ideas from different areas of personal development. I've put them in random order so you can read and implement them in any order you like. They are, though, just ideas and not even original ones, as pretty much everything about personal development was said in the 20th century. It is the implementation of these ideas that is the hard part. Unless you're very disciplined and motivated, get yourself the best coach, mentor, or personal trainer you can afford to assist you to be in your corner. It will be the best money you've ever spent. So I think the part where he says, unless you're very disciplined and motivated, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Number one, set goals. Goals are dreams with deadlines. Setting goals is the single most important exercise you can do for your own self-development. If you are serious about your growth, you have to have goals. Personal goals, professional goals, financial goals, fitness goals, all sorts of goals. Speaking of fitness goals, I remember one of my clients writing this very first goal. I want to look good naked. It made me laugh. I'm sure your girlfriend will fully support you on this one, I said. I was particularly motivated in helping him to achieve this goal. As she said, she was the one who had found me to help him. I was particularly motivated in helping him to achieve this goal, as she was the one who had found me to help him. I thought I owed her at least that much. Having no goals is like being on a boat without a sail. The wind of life will blow, but you will find yourself drifting. We can't control all life circumstances and events, but what we can control is the cut of the sail and how we catch the wind and use it to push us where we want to go. The risk we take is that unless we know where we're heading, we might end up somewhere we don't want to be. There are 4 elements of goal setting: what, by when, why, and how. First, ask yourself what it is that you want, and just write it down. You can break your goals down into separate areas or just write one long list. Aim for a minimum of 10 to start with. It shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes. If you think you don't know 10 things that you want, trust me, you do. Just start writing short-term goals and long-term goals, things you can do tomorrow and things that can make you, that may take you years to accomplish. Second, next to each of them, write a deadline. It can be 1 day, 2 weeks, 5 years, or January 2020, for example, whichever way you prefer to for each goal. When was this book written? Hang on. Just suddenly thinking, when was this published? It could have been like 3 years ago. Oh my God, 2013. Wow, okay. Third, ask yourself why you want what you want. Write a minimum of 3 reasons why you want to achieve each goal. I remember running a goal-setting workshop, and one young woman's goal was to get married. As soon as she started to write her whys, she realized it wasn't actually a goal, and she crossed it out. The first why was because my mum wants me to get married. The second, because my dad wants me to get married. If you don't really understand why you're doing what you're doing, you're going to seriously struggle in sticking to your actions. Good reasons why will allow your motivation to reach the emotional part of your brain, which will result in you acting consistently to achieve change. Make sure what you want is the product of your own conclusions. Fourth, think about and write down all the actions you could take towards achieving your goal, both individual and repetitive ones. The more, the better. Every time you achieve a significant goal, or any goal if you want, celebrate. As long as you don't celebrate finally quitting drinking by opening a bottle of champagne, everything's fine. Review your goals regularly, at least once every 3 months. Remove those you've already achieved or are no longer relevant, and add some new ones if needed. Make sure the list is always full. Some of the people involved in NASA's 1969 first moon expedition experienced serious psychological breakdowns after the exhibition was completed. Why? They spent years in preparation for that one mission, and after it was over, they found themselves with nothing to look forward to, with no other goals. NASA learned from that experience to make sure that people involved in the second expedition had some other external goals throughout the process. Make sure at least some of your goals are big. If our goals don't scare us, it means they're not big enough. I have to tell you, some of my goals scare the crap out of me, so I know I'm good for now. One of the greatest lessons I've learned about achieving goals is from my teacher, Jim Rohn. Check him out on YouTube if you don't know him. The best speaker I've ever seen. Jim says, it's not what we get in life, it's who we become. The most valuable outcome from attracting the great partner we always wanted, for example, is not that partner. It's the kind of person we had to become to attract them in the first place. That is a whole chapter on goals. How did we like that little ditty, guys? How are you feeling after that chapter, eh? There's 2 more chapters before we even get to the end of this part, and I wrap it up. There's 7 minutes left, so I better get going. All right, here we go. Stop talking, start doing. Talking is easy. The problem is just talking is a waste of time. It's all about taking action. You can think and talk and then think some more, but if you don't do anything with it, it's all for nothing. You can spend years contemplating certain ideas, but ideas are cheap. Every guy and his dog has an idea. It's all about their implementation. At the end of the day, you won't produce anything by contemplation alone. Only those who actually produce are the ones that move forward. Don't expect to necessarily enjoy the whole process of getting where you want to go either. Muhammad Ali said that he hated training, but he figured he would suffer now to live the rest of his life as a champion. I don't like to write, but I love the idea that what I'm writing might make a difference in your life. I love the idea that thanks to this book, you and I might meet one day and work together on taking your life to the next level. So I had a choice, contemplating the idea of writing this book or just sitting down and getting on with it. My favorite definition of success is that it comes from a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Note, it says every day, not every other day, not when it's nice weather or when we are in a good mood, every day. It's not rocket science. Success can be achieved by a simple, repeated action. What are you going to do today? Final chapter, here we go. Overcome procrastination. I think I kept this one in because one of you said that you were procrastination overlord. And I thought, well, here's an opportunity to read what Michael Serwer has to say about this, the most expensive life coach in the country. See what he has to say about this little ditty. Overcome procrastination. All right. I call procrastination one of the biggest social diseases. I see so many great, talented people screwing their chances of becoming the best they can be because of that disease. I see them every day. Most of my clients, when they come to me for the first time, seriously procrastinate. It can be painful to watch. Why do we procrastinate? The list of possible reasons is long, and you will often find there is more than one in any given case. Fear is a big one. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of change, fear of the unknown. Sometimes our desire just isn't strong enough. Sometimes our dreams or goals don't inspire us. Sometimes we lose the momentum or motivation. Negative self-talk and beliefs, being overwhelmed with too many options, having too many distractions that cause us to lose focus, avoiding discomfort, perfectionism, the list goes on and on. These are all both valid and common reasons for procrastinating. Do you know what I find the biggest reason of all? You're not going to like to hear it. I'm warning you. Laziness. In my own life, my friends, we don't like to hear it because who likes to think of themselves as lazy? It's so much more important, more acceptable to think the reason for not doing something is fear of failure or being a perfectionist, for example. But here's the good news. Being lazy about going to the gym, for example, doesn't make you a lazy person. It makes you a person who's lazy about going to the gym. I've never met anyone who's 100% lazy or 100% free from laziness. We tend to be lazy about the things we don't like to do and okay doing the things we like. The problem comes when that thing we don't like doing is instrumental in moving forward with something, got it in 10 pages time, important for us. I'm fortunate in that the thing I'm laziest about is also one of the easiest to outsource, cleaning, and that my cleaning lady must be the best cleaning lady on the planet. I love her, I swear to God. If ever I move cities, she's going with me. Oh no, is the computer glitching? That's a shame. Again, the thing is, I'd love to read this out as like a video series, but the problem is it's not my book. And this guy, I don't think he'd appreciate me reading out his material for free. I mean, I know I'm doing it on a live, but I think this is, this is all right. I think this is fine. I can get away with this. Shh, don't tell anyone. You need to cut through the bullshit and correctly identify the reasons behind your procrastination so you can use the right strategy to overcome it. The best solution I know is accountability. One of the main reasons why coaching is so effective. Of course, you can ask your partner, friend, or colleague to hold you accountable, but it's not the same as having someone objective on your case once a week or 24/7, especially if you pay that person a lot of money for it. Not doing the things you commit to come with a sense of wasting that money. Some other practical tips I want to give you are: get clear on your goals. Make sure you understand why you're doing what you're doing. Plan your day each day. Get rest when you're tired. Break down big, overwhelming tasks into smaller ones. and focus on starting rather than finishing. A few years ago, before my cleaning lady came into my life, when I used to vacuum my flat myself, I realized that although I never looked forward to doing it, once I started, here's the important bit, I never felt like stopping. Not only that, more often than not, I would get into it to the point where I almost enjoyed it. The point is, all we need to do is start doing the thing we don't really feel like doing. We can trick our mind by saying that all we need to do is spend a minute on it. No big deal, just 1 minute. Whether it's cleaning, running, job searching, or talking about where things are between you and your partner. 9 times out of 10, after spending an initial minute, you will keep doing what you started. Ta-da! You've just tricked your procrastinating mind using the 1 minute rule. Try it tomorrow, or even better, today. And that is the first part of From Good to Amazing. And I will finish it. I'll do another couple of chapters next week. But in the meanwhile, Mr. Gibbard has a conversation to have with a very important person. So we're going to cut it off here. And also we're done. This has officially been the longest live I have done since we started. And it will be on to the 2-hour mark. So we can get to the 2-hour mark. It's 2 o'clock right now. And I will then cut it off. And Ethan, I'll jump straight onto that Zoom conversation and wait for you there, all right? It is a good book. And the thing is, right, it's a good book. I've read it for what? How long? I read it for just under 10 minutes. And already, hang on, you can see that's where we're up to, right? Just there. So we'll be done with this very shortly. We've done that much already. Not a lot, but really, really good book. I do like this book. It's great stuff. So hopefully, I'm guessing that wasn't buffering for the other two, which means, Twigsy, if you really wanted to spend 10 minutes, you could go back and listen to this again. But otherwise, thank you very much for this live. It's been wonderful. Had a good time. Hope you enjoyed yourself as well. We will be back tomorrow, of course, as always, at 12 p.m. And we'll speak to you then. But otherwise, have a magnificent day. Have a magnificent 22 hours, I guess. And yes, until tomorrow. Much love. Thanks again for being part of this. And I'll see you all in another day. Bye.